He just wanted to finish his book. Instead, 4 alien princesses claimed him. An ancient prophecy woke up. And now, Jace Varn must choose between sealing a cosmic rift or unleashing a force that could wipe out the universe. Betrayals, forgotten, wars, impossible love, and a secret so powerful even his own grandfather tried to bury it. This isn't just survival, it's the start of a war across the stars. And Jace, he's not running anymore. The central hub of Novitas buzzed with electric anticipation, its vast open plaza shimmering under a twilight sky streaked with neon auroras. Floating lanterns cast prismatic glows, their light dancing across the faces of a crowd gathered for the upcoming Nexus alignment ceremony. Musicians with bioluminescent skin strummed instruments that hummed with subsonic vibrations, while aerial performers with translucent wings wove intricate patterns above, defying the planet's dense gravity. The air carried the tangy aroma of roasted zithopods, their sapphire steam curling upward, tempting passers-by. Amid this vibrant chaos, perched on a polished ceremonial dais meant for interplanetary ambassadors, sat Jace Varn, utterly detached from the spectacle. His nose was buried in a tattered holonovel, Starborn Renegade versus the Void Titan, his eyes tracing a pulse-pounding chase scene. A threadbare navy cloak draped over his shoulders, hood tugged low over hair that hadn't been combed in weeks. A half-eaten skewer of grilled quaver root rested beside him, forgotten. Honored guest? A robed attendant approached, her voice trembling as she clutched a ceremonial staff adorned with glowing runes. The Triad emissaries will process through here shortly for the alignment. Might you relocate? Jace didn't glance up, flicking to the next page with a practiced swipe. How about you relocate to somewhere my quiet won't be interrupted? His tone was flat, but the attendant flinched, retreating with a hurried bow. Behind him, 2 vendors whispered, their voices sharp with gossip. That's Lord Vera's perch. They say he's betrothed to the Prime Delegate's heir. Betrothed? I heard he banished an entire crew for serving him stale rations. Man's got a temper colder than a comet's core. Jace's lips quirked, amused. Let them think he was some ruthless noble. It kept people away, leaving him to his story. He reached for his drink canister, his arms sluggish, as if weighed down by more than just the planet's gravity. His fingers shook faintly, a tremor he hid with a scowl as he forced the canister open. Beside him, his sleek companion droid, model K9CC, Jace just called it Vex, emitted a low buzz, its matte black frame glinting under the plaza's lights. Truly majestic, Master, Vex intoned, its voice dripping with synthetic sarcasm. Scaring off priests while battling a canteen. Your legend grows. When the attendant was out of earshot, Vex pivoted, its optic sensors narrowing. Approach again, and I'll trade your organs for spare circuits. A cluster of onlookers in shimmering cloaks passed by, their curious glances lingering. Vex's tone shifted instantly, smooth as liquid silk. My apologies, Radiant Ones. My master is simply preoccupied with greatness. Jace rolled his eyes. Quit menacing the locals and charming the tourists, Vex. I'm at the part where the renegade hijacks the Titan's core. The plaza's clamor dropped abruptly like a signal had been cut. The musicians' chords faded mid-note, and the winged performers halted, suspended in mid-air. A hush rippled through the crowd as 4 figures stepped onto the dais, their movements so synchronized they seemed to share a single pulse. Their skin glowed with a spectrum of teal, from pale aqua to deep turquoise, clad in garments that shimmered like liquid crystal, translucent yet regal. Their hair flowed like molten gold, threaded with tiny orbs that pulsed faintly, as if echoing distant stars. By the cosmos, Vex muttered, its systems dimming briefly. Jace kept his eyes on his holonovel, or tried to. His peripheral vision betrayed him, catching glimpses of the 4 figures. Each radiated a beauty that felt universal, their forms perfectly balanced, their eyes a vivid amber that seemed to hold entire nebulae. The tallest, her hair adorned with delicate crystalline filaments, stepped forward with deliberate grace, ignoring the murmurs of the ceremonial guards trailing her. She stopped precisely 2 steps from Jace, her shadow falling across his book. It's You? She said, her voice warm and resonant like a melody laced with quiet urgency. You're the one. Jace swiped another page, his pulse quickening despite his bored facade. If you mean the guy who swiped the last spice-dusted zitherpod from the vendor, I plead not guilty. The one who can fulfill the alignment. She pressed, stepping closer. The scent of star-bloom petals followed her, subtle but intoxicating. The one destined to bind the triad's essence. Jace finally looked up, one eyebrow arched. Is that a job offer, a threat, or something weirder? The crowd had pressed closer, hundreds of beings from countless worlds watching in stunned silence. I am Silvara, she said, sinking to one knee before him, her amber eyes level with his. I am the eldest, and by the will of the Nexus, I am yours. She leaned closer, her breath warm against his ear. Claim me, she whispered, sending a shiver through him he couldn't suppress. In perfect unison, her three sisters moved. Elena, with her cascading hair studded with glowing beads, and Viora, her neck adorned with intricate silver etchings, flanked Jace on either side. The youngest, Zara, stepped behind, her fingers brushing a device on her wrist, a translucent energy dome flickered into existence around them, muffling the crowd's gasps. And us, the three said together, their voices blending like a chord. Inside the dome, time seemed to pause. A ceremonial banner froze mid-flutter, and a child's glow orb hovered inches from the ground. Jace closed his holonovel with exaggerated care. So, I was just sitting here reading about a rogue pilot outrunning a black hole, and now I'm what? Engaged to 4 people I don't know. Vex's circuits whirred in alarm. Master, I've seen this in data stream dramas. These are interstellar scammers, luring you with charm for some sinister plot. Silvara's composure faltered, her teal cheeks deepening with a flush. That's not. They'll whisk you to a hidden vault, Vex cut in. It's mechanical. Arms waving, strip you of your credits with sweet lies and... Enough, Vex, Jace sighed, running a hand through his tangled hair. 4 guards in sleek, reflective armor phased through the dome, bowing to the sisters before addressing Jace. Sir, the lead guard said, voice clipped, the emissaries request your immediate presence. Emissaries, Jace echoed, eyeing the 4 teal-skinned women. Silvara's gaze searched his face, a flicker of doubt crossing her features. You don't know me, do you? She asked, her voice softer, almost fragile. Jace stood, his movements oddly heavy, as if the planet's gravity pressed harder on him alone. Should I? Zara whispered something to Viora, who nodded toward a pendant half hidden beneath Jace's cloak. Silvara straightened, towering over him by inches. It doesn't matter. The alignment cannot wait. You'll come with us, willingly. Or not. Wow, Jace said, tucking his holonovel into his cloak. I thought VIP invites came with better sales pitches. Master, Vex interjected, positioning itself between Jace and the guards. Shall I deploy my plasma array? I've optimized it for crowd control. The crowd outside the dome surged, dignitaries gesturing wildly, security drones buzzing with alerts. Jace's expression remained one of studied indifference. Fine, he said, stretching. I was getting stiff sitting here anyway. As they escorted him toward a sleek, iridescent transport vessel, Silvara walked close, her arm nearly brushing his. That pendant, she said quietly. Where did you get it? Jace's hand drifted to the silver disc hanging from a thin chain, its surface etched with shifting glyphs. This had it forever. Gift from... His words caught as a memory stirred. Teal skin, a child's laughter, a promise made under a sky lit by 3 suns. He stopped, turning to study Silvara's face. Hold on! A commotion erupted at the plaza's edge. A phalanx of armored soldiers in matte black shoved through the crowd, led by a figure with a cybernetic arm that gleamed with lethal precision. The emissary as promised, a guard muttered. Silvara's expression tightened. We're out of time, move! As they hurried him aboard the vessel, the sky of Nova Tarsis darkened, the first stars piercing the dusk. The ramp sealed shut, and Jace's world shifted. Awareness returned in fragments. First, the sensation of sinking into a bed so soft it felt like floating on a cloud. Then, a scent, floral, alien, with a metallic edge like polished starship hulls. Whispers followed, urgent and hushed, blending with the low hum of engines. Jace opened his eyes to a ceiling alive with holographic constellations, entire star systems drifting across crystalline panels. The walls gleamed with intricate patterns of gold and sapphire, pulsing faintly as if alive. "Where's my book?" he mumbled, pushing himself up. Movement drew his gaze. Silvara stood by a viewport, her silhouette framed against the streaking lights of hyperspace. She spun at his voice, her composure fracturing into raw urgency. Crossing the room in swift strides, she glanced nervously at the door. "You're awake," she whispered, dropping beside him. Her sapphire cloak flowed around her, accentuating her teal skin and amber eyes. "We don't have much time." Jace propped himself on his elbows. "Time for what? An explanation that doesn't involve me pressing charges for abduction. Please," she said, grasping his hand, her voice low and desperate. "Marry me now, before everything falls apart." Jace blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" The door slid open, and the other three sisters rushed in, their cloaks a cascade of emerald, amethyst, and ruby. Zara slammed a control panel, sealing the door with a mechanical thud. "And us," they said in unison, then exchanged sheepish glances at their synchronized outburst. "Okay," Jace said, freeing his hand from Silvara's grip. "I'm officially worried I've been sucked into a cosmic prank show." "There's no time for jokes," Elena snapped, her teal skin darkening with emotion. "Will you help us or not?" "Help with what?" Jace swung his legs off the bed, his voice sharpening. "Last I checked, I was reading about a starship heist. Now I'm dodging marriage proposals from 4 strangers. Someone fill in the blanks." Silvara drew a breath, steadying herself. 22 years ago on Tarsinia, our homeworld, the Nexus Council welcomed a visitor, Admiral Kael Varnholt, Earth's legendary strategist, master of the orbital forge, hero of the Nebula Wars. "Your grandfather." Jace's mind jolted. Old man with a steel glare who thought fun was a 4-letter word. A memory surfaced, sharp and vivid. "I'm not going to your dumb planet. I'd rather train in the void chamber at 80 He was 9, digging his heels into the deck of a starship hangar as his grandfather, resplendent in Earthfleet regalia, dragged him toward a shuttle. "You'll represent Earth with honor, boy. The Tarsinian Accords are vital." Jace had lashed out, a flurry of kicks and punches, each blocked with infuriating ease. "Save it for the enemy, not your blood," the Admiral had growled, pinning him effortlessly. Later, bruised and sulking in formal attire, Jace stood in Tarsinia's grand hall, crystal arches soaring overhead, refracting light from twin suns. The teal-skinned prime delegate, crowned with a diadem that seemed to hold captured galaxies, greeted them. "Earth's presence honors us," he rumbled. Jace mimicked his grandfather's bow, seething inside. Dismissed to the palace gardens, he'd pulled a collapsible blade from his belt, practicing forms with angry slashes. "Drag me across the sector to salute some pompous delegate. Waste of my life." A pebble sailed toward his head. Without looking, he sliced it in 2, the halves landing neatly at his feet. "Nice move," came a voice, bright and teasing. Perched on a garden wall was a girl, maybe 7, her teal skin glowing faintly, her golden hair catching the sunlight. Her dress was ornate yet practical, perfect for a kid who slipped her escort. "That pompous delegate's my dad. I'm Silvara, eldest of the triad." Jace's scowl softened. She was different, not like the stuffy diplomats or his grandfather's rigid crew. "I'm Jace, the Admiral's baggage," she grinned, hopping down. "Want to see something awesome?" For a month, while the Admiral brokered alliances, Jace and Silvara were inseparable. They dodged palace security, sneaking through Tarsinia's glowing markets, nabbing glow fruits when vendors turned away. She led him to hidden grottos where bioluminescent vines pulsed, and they swam in lakes that shimmered like liquid starlight, the water lifting them effortlessly. Jace taught her Earth combat moves, always letting her win their playful spars. He told her about his parents, lost in the Orion conflict, leaving him with his grandfather's relentless discipline. "Will you come back?" she asked on their last day, sitting by a glowing stream. "Doubt it," Jace said, skipping a stone. "Grandfather's always off conquering something, and I've got no one else." She hesitated, then unclasped a pendant from her neck, a silver disc with glyphs that seemed to shift under his gaze. "Take this," she said, pressing it into his hand. "It's a triad relic. Keep it and I'll remember you. You'll remember me. Promise? Promise, Jace said, slipping it on. Won't you get in trouble? She flashed a mischievous smile. I'm a princess. I make the rule. Back in the present, Jace's hand rose to the pendant, his eyes locked on Silvara. It was you, he said softly. The glowing lakes, the fruit heists. Her face softened. You remember? I thought you'd forgotten. I thought it was a fever dream, Jace admitted. Something I imagined during grandfather's void chamber punishments. I knew you the moment I saw the pendant, Silvara said, touching the disc. The Triad's crest of binding. Binding. Jace's brow furrowed. It marks the one who can claim Tarsinia's throne, Viora said, her voice taut. Through ritual combat, Jace looked between them. Someone explain what's actually going on. Silvara sat beside him. 5 years ago, our father was betrayed, poisoned by his advisor, Commander Zethar. He lingers in stasis, neither dead nor alive. Zethar seized control, positioning himself to claim the throne by forcing us into marriage. Forcing you? Jace guessed. All Triad daughters must wed to transfer power, Elena said, her tone bitter. But an ancient law allows the crest's bearer to challenge for our hands and the throne by defeating the eldest in combat. So you want me to fight? You, Jace said, pinching his nose, to marry you, to stop this Zethar guy from taking over. I knew you as a child, Silvara said, her voice earnest. You were extraordinary. You outran palace drones for fun, disarmed guards twice. Your size over a bet. Your skill, your courage, they were unmatched, Jace snorted. That was a lifetime ago. Now I can barely open a canister without a nap. A sharp knock interrupted. Emissaries, a voice called. Commander Zethar's forces have locked onto our ship. He demands your return for the ceremony. Tell them we're coming, Silvara shouted, then turned to Jace, her eyes pleading. Please, you're our only chance. Jace stood, his body protesting with a familiar ache. I'm not your hero. Whatever you remember, that kid's gone. He stretched, and his worn cloak tore at the seams, revealing a glinting undersuit, sleek, metallic, lined with glowing circuits. What is that? Zara gasped, stepping closer. Compression lattice, Elena whispered, her scientific mind racing. At least 50 G of constant force. Silvara's hand hovered near the suit. You've been wearing this always? Jace grimaced. Grandfather's gift. Said I could ditch it when I proved I was strong enough or gave up. Been 14 years. 14 years at 50 G? Viora's eyes widened. How are you moving? Barely, Jace admitted. He hesitated, then pressed a hidden switch at his neck. With a series of clicks and a hydraulic sigh, the lattice loosened, collapsing to the floor with a thud that dented the deck. Jace stood taller, his shoulders rolling as if testing new freedom. Beneath the suit, his physique was sculpted, every muscle honed to perfection. He took a step, then another, his movements fluid, almost weightless. That's new, he said, staring at his hands. He lifted a nearby crystal vase, heavy enough to require 2 people, and spun it effortlessly on one finger. You've trained at 50 G for 14 years, Silvara realized, hope sparking in her eyes. In normal gravity, you're still not signing up for your war, Jace cut in, though a grin tugged at his lips. The ship lurched, alarms blaring. They're boarding, Elena shouted, checking a wrist display. Deck 5, outer hull. Breach. Silvara stepped in front of Jace, her composure gone. Will you fight for us, for Tarsinia? Jace looked at her, memories of glowing lakes and shared secrets flooding back. He thought of a question she'd asked him as kids, something about bravery that had made him scoff. What was it you said back then? He asked. A true warrior never flees a just fight, she replied, her eyes bright with recognition. He cracked his knuckles, the sound sharp in the tense air. Been a while since I saw Tarsinia. The ship shook as another explosion echoed. Red lights pulsed through the corridors as Jace followed the sisters toward the command deck. Each step felt like flying, his body thrumming with power unleashed after years of restraint. They've breached 2 more sections, Elena reported. Zethar's mercenaries are closing in. We can't outgun them here, Viora said. We need to reach Tarsinia and invoke the challenge before Zethar forces the marriage. A squad of 8 mercenaries appeared ahead, their weapons trained. Halt by order of Commander Zethar. Jace moved. One moment he was behind the sisters. The next he stood among the mercenaries. Their targeting systems couldn't lock on. He disarmed 4 in a blur, their rifles clattering to the deck. The others fired, but Jace wove between the energy bolts, redirecting one into a wall with a flick of his wrist. He incapacitated the rest with precise strikes, leaving them slumped before they could react. The fight lasted seconds. That was... Zara breathed, awestruck. 50 grind does wonders, Jace muttered, flexing his fingers. Glorious, Vex exclaimed, its optics glowing. Shall I archive your triumph, Master? Just cover us, Jace said, grabbing two of the mercenaries. Weapons! They reached the command deck, where Silvara's crew had fortified their position. The captain, a wiry humanoid with crystalline eyes, bowed. Emissaries, we've evaded Zethar's flagship, but 2 pursuit craft remain. We can reach Tarsinia in 15 minutes if we overload the drives. Do it, Silvara ordered. To the crew, she declared. This is my champion, bearer of the crest. By ancient law, I invoke the binding challenge. A murmur swept through the crew. The challenge hasn't been called in centuries, Elena whispered to Jace. It overrides all claims but demands combat before the Nexus Council. Tarsinia's violet glow filled the viewport as they entered its atmosphere. The capital shimmered below, its spires refracting the light of twin sun. At its heart stood the Nexus Sanctum, a structure of impossible geometry, its surfaces shifting like liquid light. Jace gazed out. So this is where little Silvara dunked me in that glowing lake, she smiled. You said princesses couldn't dive? I proved you wrong. He chuckled, then sobered. You sure about this? I don't want to hurt you. You won't, she said, her confidence unshaken. But it has to look real. Zethar will seize any flaw. They docked at a hidden port, loyalists guiding them through ancient tunnels to the Sanctum's grand hall. Zethar's been planning this for years, Viora whispered, the day he claims us and the throne. They stepped onto a balcony overlooking an amphitheater, packed with thousands, diplomats, nobles, and citizens from across the galaxy. At the center, a circular arena pulsed with energy. Commander Zethar stood there, his cybernetic arm gleaming, his face a mix of flesh and machine. Today, he boomed, I unite with the Triad's daughters and lead Tarsinia to glory. I invoke the binding challenge. Silvara's voice rang out, silencing the crowd. She strode into the arena, her sisters and Jace beside her. Zethar's organic eye narrowed. Who is this human? My champion? Silvara said, gesturing to Jace's pendant. Bearer of the crest. Zethar's laughter echoed. This wretch? He'll fall in seconds. Jace shrugged. Maybe, but I've got time to kill. The pendant flared, its glyphs projecting ancient symbols above. The crest acknowledges the challenge, an elder declared, voice quaking. Zethar's smirk wavered. So be it, the human faces Silvara. When he fails, the emissaries are mine. Jace and Silvara took their positions. Her ritual armor gleamed, accentuating her teal skin. Begin, the elder shouted. Silvara attacked, her strikes swift and precise. Jace parried effortlessly, reading her intent. Each move was a signal, guiding their performance. Sell it, she whispered mid-strike. Jace nodded, letting her land light blows while escalating his own. To the crowd, it looked like a fierce battle, Silvara holding her own against a growing force. Zethar watched, his cybernetic eyes scanning for weaknesses. After minutes of calculated combat, Jace seized the moment. He caught Silvara's arm, swept her legs in a blur, and pinned her gently to the arena floor. The elder's voice boomed, the champion prevails. He claims the binding. Jace leaned down, his lips meeting Silvara's in a ceremonial kiss that deepened, a spark of childhood memory igniting into something more. When they parted, her amber eyes outline. No! Zethar roared, his cybernetic arm morphing into a plasma cannon. Fraud! Kill them! His mercenaries hesitated as loyalist guards stepped forward. We honor the crest, their captain said, kneeling. We honor Earth's ally. Zethar fired, but Jace dodged, redirecting the blast with a scavenged shield. Sore loser, huh? He quipped. Zethar charged, his enhancements propelling him forward. Jace sidestepped, using Zethar's momentum to slam him into the arena floor. Viora activated a holo display, projecting evidence of Zethar's crimes, poisoning, the Prime Delegate, murdering loyalists, rigging the Nexus. Lies! Zethar screamed, scrambling up. Kill them for riches! A deafening crash interrupted. The hall's wall exploded, and through the dust stepped Admiral Cale Varnholt, his Earthfleet uniform pristine, his eyes cold. "You disabled the lattice early," he said to Jace. "I'm saving a planet," Jace shot back. The Admiral launched at him, their combat shattering the arena. Blows that could crush steel landed with precision, their styles mirrored yet distinct. "You defied my orders," Kyle roared, hurling Jace through a column. "I'm getting married," Jace countered, blocking a strike. "That was the point!" They grappled, the crowd frozen. "How'd you know I removed it?" Jace demanded. Both turned to Vex, who shrank back. "Routine updates to the Admiral, Master. For your protection. You spied on me for 14 years. Monitored," Kyle corrected. Then unexpectedly, he smiled. "You're strong, boy." "Still not you," Jace admitted. They embraced, a crushing hug. "Missed you, runt," Kale muttered. "Missed you, fossil," Jace replied. A hum broke the moment. Zethar aimed a disruptor at Silvara. "If I can't rule, no one will." Neither Varnholt moved. Vex, unnoticed, extended blades through Zethar's cybernetics. "Threatening my master's beloved is unwise," it chirped as Zethar collapsed. 4 years later, Tarsinia's gardens bloomed under twin suns. Children, 2 teal-skinned girls and a boy with Jace's sharp jaw, chased each other, tormenting Vex. "Young highnesses, cease this velocity," the droid wailed. From a pavilion, Jace watched, now at ease in royal garb. Silvara joined him, her tunic simple yet regal. "You're enjoying Vex's pain," she teased. "So years of snooping," Jace grinned. "He's earned it." The sisters arrived, Elina from her tech lab, Viora from Defense Command, Zara from diplomatic talks. "The Earth Tarsinia Centauri. Alliance is sealed," Zara announced. "Grandfather will take credit," Jace said, sipping wine. "Speaking of," Viora checked her band, "his fleet's here." The children played, the youngest atop Vex, pounding its dome. "Permission to remove the prince," Vex begged. "Denied," all 5 parents shouted, laughing. Kale's arrival brought fanfare, guards saluting, servants scurrying. The children swarmed him, fearless. Later in their private quarters, Kale activated a star map. The outer rim anomaly has expanded. Something's coming, unlike anything known. The map showed a void swallowing stars. "The Star Veil Rift," Elina whispered. "Ancient texts say a crest bearer sealed it, sacrificing themselves." All eyes turned to Jace's pendant. "Nope," he said, hands up. "I did the hero thing. I'm on kid duty now." "There's another pendant," Viora said. "A counterpart. Together they're a key." Kyle produced a second disc, its glyphs reversed, found on Vorin Secundus, where your parents fell. Jace stared, the pendants resonating, glowing with interlocking patterns. "I hate prophecies," he muttered, but reached for it. Visions flooded his mind. Cosmic forces, the crest's purpose, his grandfather's true mission in bringing him here. "You knew," Jace whispered. "Your father knew," Kyle said. "Why he died on Vorin." Silvara's hand covered Jace's, her sisters joining, the pendants pulsing. Beyond Tarsinia, stars flickered, something ancient stirring in the void. "No more comics, huh?" Jace said, a smile forming. "Ready for round 2, old man?" Kale grinned, decades falling away. "Always, boy." The pendants blazed, revealing a map to the unknown, the Creston legacy unfolding. Jace's story wasn't over. It was just beginning. The crystalline chamber of the Tarsinian palace hummed with a subtle energy, the walls refracting the twin suns' fading light into a kaleidoscope of sapphire and gold. Jace Varn stood at the center, the 2 pendants, one from his childhood, the other from his grandfather's grim revelation, hovering inches above his open palms. Their glyphs pulsed in sync, projecting a holographic map that spiraled outward, a labyrinth of stars and uncharted voids. The air felt charged, as if the universe itself held its breath. Silvara stood close, her teal skin catching the glow, her amber eyes fixed on the map with a mix of awe and unease. Her sisters, Elina, Viora, and Zara, formed a loose circle, Around them, their expressions a blend of determination and quiet dread. Admiral Cale Varnholt, his weathered face unreadable, leaned against a crystalline pillar, arms crossed, watching his grandson with the same piercing gaze that had once disciplined a rebellious boy. Jace's voice broke the silence, dry as ever. So this cosmic treasure map, does it come with a manual, or are we just winging it? He tilted his head, studying the projection. A single point pulsed brighter than the rest, a star system on the edge of the Starvale Rift, where the void seemed to writhe like a living thing. Silvara's fingers brushed his arm, grounding him. The ancient texts called it the Threshold, a gateway sealed by the first crest-bearer. If the rift is waking, that's where we'll find answers. Answers, Jace echoed, his grin lopsided. Or a cosmic monster ready to snack on us. He closed his hands, and the pendants clinked together, the map winking out. Either way, I'm guessing stay home and read isn't an option. Not quite, Elena said, her scientific mind already racing. She tapped a wrist device, pulling up data streams from Tarsinia's orbital sensors. The rift's expansion is accelerating. It's not just consuming stars, it's altering space-time. Gravity waves, temporal distortions. If we don't act, Tarsinia could be next. Viora, ever the strategist, stepped forward. Zethar's defeat left his loyalists scattered, but they're regrouping. If they learn of the rift's power, they'll try to weaponize it. We need to move before they do. Zara, her diplomatic finesse tempered by urgency, added, the Earth-Tarsinia Centauri alliance is strong, but untested. If we're to face this, we'll need their fleets and their trust. Jace glanced at his grandfather. Let me guess. Old man, you've already got a battle group prepped and a speech ready to rally the troops. Cale's lips twitched, the closest he ever came to a smile. 2 battle groups, boy, and a third on standby. But this isn't a fight we can win with ships alone. He nodded toward the pendants. Those are the key. Your parents died to protect the second one. They believed it was your destiny. Jace's jaw tightened, the weight of his parents' sacrifice settling like a stone in his chest. He'd spent years running from his grandfather's expectations, from the shadow of his family's legacy. Now it was staring him in the face, glowing with ancient power. Destiny, he muttered. Sounds like a fancy word for trouble. Vex, who had been silently polishing its blades in a corner, whirred to life. Master, shall I prepare your combat gear for this glorious quest? Or perhaps a snack for the journey? Your magnificence requires sustenance. Jace shot the droid a look. How about you prepare to stop ratting me out to the Admiral? That'd be a start. Vex's optics dimmed in mock offense. My loyalty is to your survival, Master, and to the narrative grandeur of your saga. Silvara's hand tightened. On Jace's. You're not alone in this. We'll face it together, whatever lies beyond the threshold. Her sisters nodded, their unity a quiet strength. Jace looked at them, then at the pendants, their light steady now, as if waiting. He thought of the gardens where he and Silvara had run as children, of the promise they'd made under a sky that felt infinite. He'd never wanted to be a hero, but he'd promised to remember her. And now, with the universe unraveling, that promise felt bigger than he'd ever imagined. All right, he said, slipping the pendants around his neck, their warmth seeping into his skin. Let's go poke the cosmic bear and see what growls back. The Tarsinian flagship, Ethereal Dawn, cut through hyperspace like a blade, its crystalline hull refracting the streaks of light into dazzling patterns. Jace stood on the command deck, the pendants humming faintly against his chest. The crew moved with disciplined precision, their teal and human faces reflecting a shared resolve. Silvara and her sisters coordinated with the officers, while Kyle conferred with Earthfleet commanders via Hololink. The threshold system was 3 jumps away, and every sensor reading suggested they were heading into something no one could fully predict. Jace leaned against a console, skimming his hollow novel to calm his nerves, but the words blurred. His mind kept drifting to the visions the pendants had triggered, flashes of a vast, churning vortex, of a figure wielding both crests, standing against a tide of darkness. He shook it off, focusing on the present. Vex, run a scan on the pendants. Anything useful? The droid, plugged into a nearby terminal, chirped. Their energy signature is Anomalous, Master. Quantum entanglement with an unknown source. Possibly extra-dimensional. Also, they're quite shiny. Aesthetically magnificent, if I may say. Helpful as ever, Jace muttered. He caught Silvara's eye across the deck. She smiled a fleeting reassurance before returning to her work. Elena approached, her wrist device projecting a model of the threshold. The system's primary. Star is collapsing faster than our models predicted. It's not a natural process. Something's draining it like a siphon. Something alive? Jace asked, half joking. Her expression was grim. We don't know. The ancient texts mention a warden, a guardian or gatekeeper tied to the crests. It could be sentient, mechanical, or something else. Great, Jace said. A cosmic bouncer. Hope it likes visitors. The ship dropped out of hyperspace, and the viewport revealed the threshold system. A dying star cast a sickly red glow, its surface roiling with unnatural storms. Beyond it, the star veil. Rift loomed, a tear in reality, its edges shimmering with colors no human eye could fully process. The fleet, Earth cruisers, Tarsenian frigates, and Centauri scouts formed a defensive formation, their hulls glinting like blades in the dark. Anomaly readings off the charts, Viora reported. Shields up, weapons hot. We're not alone. As if on cue, a swarm of sleek obsidian ships emerged from the rift's edge, their designs alien, all sharp angles and pulsing red veins. Zethar's loyalists? Zara asked, her voice tight. No, Elena said, analyzing their signatures. These are older, pre-Tarsinian, maybe pre-human. They're not in any database. Kale's voice cut through the tension. Battle, stations, protect the dawn. Jace, you and the emissaries get to the surface. The texts say the threshold's gate is planet-side. Surface? Jace glanced at the viewport. The system's only planet was a barren rock. Its atmosphere, a toxic swirl of ash and lightning. Looks like a great spot for a picnic. Silvara grabbed his hand. The pendants will guide us. They have to. A shuttle carried Jace, the sisters, and a small team of elite guards to the planet's surface, Vex trailing with a grumble about hazardous conditions. The pendants glowed brighter as they descended, their light cutting through the storm's gloom. The shuttle touched down near a massive structure, an archway of black stone, its surface etched with the same glyphs as the pendants. It stood alone, untouched by the planet's erosion, as if time refused to claim it. Jace stepped out, the pendants now almost too hot to touch. Guess this is the front door. He approached the arch and the glyphs flared, a low hum resonating through the ground. The air shimmered and a portal opened, a swirling vortex of light and shadow. Master, I advise extreme caution, Vex said, its blades extended. This portal lacks the charm of a proper vacation destination. Silvara stepped beside Jace, her sisters close behind. Whatever's on the other side, we face it together. Jace nodded, his usual quips replaced by a quiet resolve. He thought of his parents, of the promise he'd made to Silvara, of the children playing in Tarsinia's gardens. Let's do this, he said, and stepped through the portal, the pendants blazing like twin stars. The world beyond was a paradox, a vast, shifting landscape where gravity seemed optional, where islands of crystal floated in a sea of liquid light. Distant shapes moved, too, vast to comprehend, their forms flickering between solid and ethereal. The pendants guided them forward, their light carving a path through the chaos. Jace's senses screamed, every instinct telling him this place wasn't meant for mortals. A voice, deep, resonant, neither male nor female, echoed around them. Bearers of the crests, you have come to the threshold, but are you worthy? Jace tightened his grip on Silvara's hand. Worthy or not, we're here. What's the deal? The voice laughed, a sound that vibrated through their bones. The rift stirs because the balance is broken. The warden's seal weakens. Prove your strength, or the void claims all. Before them a figure materialized, humanoid but impossibly tall, its body a mosaic of starlight and shadow. It held a blade that seemed to cut the air itself, and its eyes locked onto Jace. The crests demand a champion. Step forward or perish. Jace glanced at Silvara, then at his sisters-in-law, their faces set with trust. He thought of his grandfather's relentless training, of the years under crushing gravity, of the boy who'd promised a princess he'd never forget her. "All right, big guy," he said, stepping forward, the pendants flaring. "Let's see what you've got." The warden lunged, its blade a streak of annihilation. Jace moved, his body a blur, years of suppressed strength unleashed in a dance of precision and power. The sisters formed a protective circle, their own abilities, Elena's tech, Viora's tactics, Zara's empathy, amplifying their defense. Vex darted around, its blades flashing, shouting about narrative glory. The battle was unlike anything Jace had faced. The warden's strikes warped reality, bending time and space, but the pendants pulsed, their light steadying him, guiding his movements. He counted, his fists and stolen mercenary blades, weaving a pattern that felt almost preordained. Silvara's voice cut through the chaos, calling out strategies, her belief in him a tether to reality. As the fight raged, the landscape shifted, revealing glimpses of other worlds, cities of crystal, oceans of fire, voids where stars screamed. The warden's form flickered, revealing something beneath, a machine, a mind, a fragment of something ancient and broken. "You cannot hold the balance," it roared. "The rift will consume." "Maybe," Jace grunted, dodging a blow that shattered a floating island. "But I'm stubborn as hell." He caught the warden's blade between his palms, the pendants blazing and twisted, redirecting its energy into the ground. The impact shook the realm, cracks spreading through the liquid light. Silvara joined him, her hand on his shoulder, her sisters linking hands behind her. "The crests aren't just weapons," she said. "They're a promise, to protect, to endure." The pendants flared, their light merging, enveloping the warden. It screamed, its form dissolving into fragments of starlight. The voice returned, softer now. "You have proven worthy, for now. The rift sleeps, but it will wake again. Guard the crests, guard the balance." The portal reappeared, brighter, more stable. Jace and the sisters stepped through, collapsing onto the planet's surface as the archway dimmed. The storm had calmed, the toxic clouds parting to reveal a sky full of stars. The shuttle's comms crackled, Kyle's voice gruff but relieved. "You alive, boy?" "Barely," Jace replied, catching his breath. Silvara leaned against him, her sisters sprawled nearby, exhausted but whole. Vex, miraculously unscathed, began composing a ballad about their triumph. Back aboard the ethereal Dawn, the fleet reported the rift's stabilization, the alien ships retreating into the void. But Elena's scans showed faint anomalies lingering, a whisper of something still stirring. Kale clapped Jace's shoulder, a rare gesture. "You did good, Runt, but this isn't over." "Never is," Jace said, the pendants cool against his skin. He looked at Silvara, her amber eyes reflecting the stars outside. "Worth it, though," she smiled, leaning into him. "Always." As the fleet turned toward Tarsinia, Jace opened his holonovel, but his eyes kept drifting to the pendants, their glyphs faintly glowing. The threshold was sealed, the warden defeated, but the universe was vast, and the rift's shadow lingered. He thought of his children, of the gardens, of the promise he'd kept, and the ones he'd yet to make. "Ready for the next chapter?" Silvara asked, her voice soft but teasing. Jace grinned, tucking the pendants beneath his shirt. "As long as it's got you in it." The stars stretched endlessly ahead, and somewhere, in the void between worlds, something ancient watched, waiting for the crests to shine again. The ethereal dawn carved a silent path through the velvet expanse of space, its crystalline hull reflecting the distant flicker of stars like a beacon of hope against the infinite dark. Jace Vaughn stood on the observation deck, the twin pendants resting warm against his chest, their glyphs pulsing faintly as if whispering secrets only he could hear. Silvara leaned against the railing beside him, her teal skin catching the soft glow of the deck's ambient lights, her amber eyes tracing the same distant stars. Her sisters, Elena, Viora, and Zara, were scattered across the deck, each lost in their own thoughts, while Admiral Kyle Varnholt conferred with the ship's captain, his stern silhouette framed against a tactical holo display. The threshold's portal had closed, the warden's challenge met, but the Starvale Rift's shadow lingered in every sensor reading, a reminder that their victory was temporary, a pause in a cosmic game far from over. Jace twirled one of the pendants between his fingers, its surface smooth yet alive with subtle vibrations. So, we beat the big scary gatekeeper, saved the universe for a hot minute, and now what? We just wait for the next ancient prophecy to ruin my reading time? Silvara's lips curved, a spark of their childhood mischief in her gaze. You never did finish that hollow novel, did you? The one about the rogue pilot and the black hole. Got interrupted by a certain princess dragging me into a galactic coup, he shot back, his grin softening the words. But yeah, I'm planning to catch up, unless the universe has other plans. Elena approached, her wrist device projecting a stream of data that flickered like fireflies. The rift stabilized, but there's residual energy, pockets of distortion we can't explain. It's like the threshold left a door cracked open. Cracked open for what? Viora asked, her strategist's mind already calculating threats. She adjusted her tactical bracer, its interface glowing with fleet positions. Those obsidian ships didn't just vanish, they retreated, and I don't trust anything that moves like it's been waiting for us. Zara, ever the diplomat, smoothed her robe, her voice calm but firm. We need to strengthen the alliance. Earth, Tarsinia, Centauri, we're united. But if the rift wakes again, we'll need more. The outer rim colonies, the neutral systems, they'll listen if we show them the stakes. Kale's gruff voice cut through. They'll listen when they see strength. The fleet's ready, but we need intel. Those ships, the Warden, the rift, it's all connected to the crests. His eyes locked on Jace. And to you, boy, Jace sighed, tucking the pendants beneath his shirt. No pressure, right? Just me, two shiny necklaces, and the fate of reality. Should have stayed on that dais with my book. Vex, polishing its blades with theatrical flair, piped up. Master, your magnificence thrives under pressure. Shall I compose a saga of your threshold triumph? Or perhaps a ballad for the lovely emissaries? Compose a mute button for yourself, Jace muttered, earning a chuckle from Silvara. The deck's lights dimmed briefly, a low hum signaling their approach to Tarsinia. The planet's violet glow filled the viewport, its crystalline spires catching the twin suns' light like a city, carved from dreams. But even that beauty couldn't erase the unease prickling at Jace's senses. The pendants hadn't stopped humming since the threshold, and every so often, a flicker of a vision, a churning vortex, a shadow moving through stars, flashed through his mind. He shook it off, focusing on Silvara's warmth beside him. Whatever came next, they'd face it together. But the question gnawed at him. What was the rift hiding? The Dawn docked at Tarsinia's primary port, and the royal family disembarked to a hero's welcome. Crowds lined the crystalline walkways, their cheers a symphony of gratitude and awe. Children waved glow orbs, their teal and human faces alight with wonder, while dignitaries from Earth and Centauri bowed in respect. Jace, uncomfortable in the spotlight, kept his cloak hood low, but Silvara's hand in his steadied him. Their children, two teal-skinned girls and a boy with Jace's sharp jaw, raced ahead, dodging Vex's attempts to corral them. "Young Highnesses, your velocity defies protocol," the droid wailed, its appendages flailing. In the palace's Grand Hall, the Prime Delegate, still frail from his years in stasis, greeted them from his ceremonial throne. His voice, though weak, carried weight. "You've honored Tarsinia, my daughters, and our champion. But the rift's stirring is a warning. The crests have chosen, but their purpose remains veiled." Jace stepped forward, the pendants glinting. "Under the hall's light, any chance these things come with an off switch, or at least a hint about what's next?" The delegate's lips twitched, a ghost of a smile. "The crests are both key and compass. They led you to the threshold. They'll lead again when the time comes." "Great," Jace said, his tone dry. More cryptic homework. That night, the palace gardens bloomed under a sky streaked with auroras, the air thick with the scent of starbloom petals. Jace and the sisters sat on a cushioned pavilion, their children asleep in the royal quarters, Vex standing guard with exaggerated vigilance. Elena pored over sensor logs, Viora strategized fleet movements, and Zara drafted alliance proposals. Silvara, nestled against Jace, traced the pendant's glyphs with her finger. "They're warmer now," she said softly, "like they're waking up." Jace covered her hand with his. If they're waking, they'd better have a good reason. I'm not a fan of surprises, but surprises were coming. Deep in the palace's archives, Elena uncovered a fragment of text, etched on a crystal slab older than Tarsinia's recorded history. It spoke of the crests as fragments of a greater whole, a star heart, a power that could either seal the rift forever or unleash its full wrath. The text hinted at a hidden vault, its location encoded in the pendant's glyphs, somewhere beyond the known galaxy. The catch? The vault was guarded by the Shattered, a collective of entities born from the rift's chaos, neither alive nor dead, bound to protect the Star Heart at all costs. Sounds like a party, Jace quipped when Elena shared the discovery, but his eyes lingered on the pendants, their glow brighter now, almost impatient. Kyle, who'd joined them with a fresh batch of Earth Fleet intel, leaned forward, the outer rims reporting sightings, more of those obsidian ships moving in patterns that suggest they're searching. If they're after the Star Heart, we can't let them get there first. Viora's bracer pinged with an alert. Our scouts just detected a signal from the edge of the threshold system. It matches the pendant's energy signature. Someone, or something, is calling them. Jace felt the pendant's pulse, a rhythm that matched his heartbeat. Guess we're not waiting for an invitation. The decision was made. A small elite team, Jace, the sisters, Kale, and a hand-picked crew, would take a stealth vessel, the Nebula Thorn, to investigate the signal. The Alliance fleets would remain on alert, ready to defend Tarsinia if the rift stirred again. As they prepared, Jace found himself in the palace armory, testing a new combat suit Elena had designed. Light, flexible, amplifying his already superhuman reflexes. Vex, upgraded with fresh plasma blades, hovered nearby, muttering about its narrative significance. Silvara joined him, her own armor sleek and regal, a blend of Tarsinian crystal and earth tech. Nervous? She asked, her voice teasing but warm. Me? Nah, Jace said, adjusting the suit's gauntlets. Just wondering if the Shattered take bribes. Maybe they'd trade the Star Heart for a good holo novel. She laughed, then grew serious. Whatever we find, you're not just the Crest's champion. You're ours. He pulled her close, the pendants glowing between them. Good, because I'm not doing this without you. Hey, everyone. Loving this cosmic adventure so far? What do you think the Shattered are? Ancient guardians, or something way creepier? Drop your guesses in the comments, and if you're hooked, hit that like button and subscribe for more epic sci-fi tales. Let's keep exploring the stars together. The Nebula Thorn launched under cover of Tarsinia's moons, its stealth systems cloaking it from prying sensors. The signal led them to a desolate system on the rift's edge, where a shattered planet hung in orbit, its surface a mosaic of glowing craters and jagged spires. The pendants guided them to a cavern deep within, its walls pulsing with the same energy as the threshold's archway. As they descended, the air grew thick, the pendants blazing like miniature suns. Inside, they found a chamber vast enough to swallow a fleet, its ceiling a dome of liquid light that mirrored the rift's chaotic hues. At its center stood a pedestal, and on it, a crystalline orb, the Star Heart. Its surface swirled with colors that defied description, and its presence pressed against their minds, a weight of power and intent. But they weren't alone. Shadows moved along the chamber's edges, their forms flickering, humanoid one moment, insectoid the next, then something else entirely. The Shattered. Who dares seek the Star Heart? A voice hissed, a chorus of thousands speaking as one. The shadows converged, forming a barrier between the team and the orb. Jace stepped forward, the pendants flaring. Jace Varn, reluctant. Hero, here to politely ask for that shiny ball. Or we can do this the hard way. The Shattered laughed, a sound like breaking glass. The crests mark you, but they do not claim you. Prove your worth or join us in the void. Before Jace could respond, the chamber shook and a fleet of obsidian ships materialized outside, their weapons locking onto the Thorn. Viora's bracer flashed with alerts. Zethar's loyalists, they've tracked us. Kyle drew his plasma rifle. Hold the chamber. I'll handle the ships. Silvara and her sisters formed a defensive line, their weapons and tech syncing with Jace's suit. Vex's blades glowed, its voice gleeful. Master, This is the climax of your legend. The Shattered attacked, their forms shifting mid-strike, blades and claws morphing into tendrils of shadow. Jace moved like a storm, his suit amplifying his 50G honed strength, the pendants guiding his strikes with eerie precision. Silvara fought. Beside him, her crystal staff a blur, while Elena deployed drones to counter the Shattered's phasing. Viora's tactical commands kept their formation tight, and Zara's empathic pulses disrupted the Shattered's cohesion. Outside, Kale's voice crackled through comms. "Ships are engaging! Hold the Starheart!" The orb pulsed, its light syncing with the pendants. Jace felt a surge, visions flooding his mind, a war across dimensions, the crests forged to bind the Starheart, the Shattered as remnants of a civilization that tried to wield it and fell. "It's not just power," he gasped, dodging a shadow's strike. "It's a choice. Seal the rift or break it open." Silvara's eyes met his, fierce with trust. "Then we choose to protect." They reached the pedestal, the Shattered's attacks intensifying. Jace placed the pendants against the Starheart, and the chamber blazed with light. The Shattered screamed, their forms stabilizing, ghosts of warriors, scientists, dreamers, trapped by their own hubris. "Free us!" they pleaded, their voices softening, "or doom us all." Jace hesitated, the weight of the choice crushing. Seal the rift, save the universe, but trap these souls forever? Or risk unleashing the Starheart's full power to free them and maybe lose everything? Silvara's hand found his, her sisters joining, their unity a lifeline. Kale's voice roared through the comms. "Do it, boy! Whatever it takes!" The Starheart pulsed, waiting. Jace's mind raced, memories of pink lakes, of promises kept, of a family worth fighting for. He pressed the pendants deeper, the light blinding, the Shattered's cries fading into silence. But the chamber didn't stabilize. The rift's energy surged, a new signal spiking through Elena's senses, something vast, older than the Shattered, stirring beyond the stars. Jace pulled the pendants back, the Starheart dimming, but intact. "We're not done," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos. "But we're not losing this fight." The Thorn escaped as the Obsidian ships retreated, their purpose unclear. Back on Tarsinia, the Alliance rallied, fleets massing, scientists analyzing the Starheart's data. The pendants glowed brighter, their map expanding, pointing to a new destination, a system where the rift's heart pulsed. Jace stood with his family, the weight of the universe on his shoulders, but their presence made it bearable. "So much for retirement," he muttered, slipping an arm around Silvara. "Ready for another round?" Her smile was fierce. "Always." The stars burned, the rift waited, and the crest's true purpose loomed closer, a mystery that would test them all. The Tarsinian palace shimmered under the violet dawn, its crystalline, spires refracting the twin suns' light into a cascade of prismatic hue. Jace Varn stood in the royal strategy chamber, the twin pendants glowing softly against his chest, their glyphs casting faint patterns across the polished floor. The Starheart's encounter had left its mark, not just in the data Elena's team was frantically analyzing, but in the way the pendants seemed to hum with a new urgency, as if they sensed the rift's next move. Silvara stood beside him, her teal hand resting lightly on his arm, her amber eyes scanning a holomap that dominated the room's center. Her sisters, Elena, Viora, and Zara, worked in sync, each tackling a piece of the puzzle. Elena with her scientific probes, Viora with her tactical arrays, and Zara with her diplomatic channels. Admiral Kale Varnholt, his Earth Fleet uniform crisp despite the sleepless nights, leaned over the map, his weathered face set in a scowl that could intimidate stars. The holomap pulsed, highlighting a distant system, Klyros Vale, a cluster of dying stars wrapped in a nebula that warped sensors and defied navigation. The pendants had locked onto it, their glyphs aligning with the system's coordinates as if drawn by an invisible thread. Jace tapped the map, zooming in on a single planetoid at the nebula's heart, its surface a jagged maze of glowing fissures. "Let me guess," he said, his voice laced with dry humor. "This is where the universe keeps its do not enter sign." Silvara's lips twitched, but her tone was serious. "The texts call it the Crucible. a place where the star hearts creators tested their power. If the rift's heart is anywhere, it's there. Creators? Jace raised an eyebrow, the pendants warming under his touch. I thought the star heart was some cosmic fluke, not a science project. Elena looked up from her data slate, her scientific curiosity alight. The archives suggest the star heart was forged by a civilization older than Tarsinia, maybe older than Earth. They harnessed the rift's energy, but it consumed them. The shattered were their remnants, echoes of their failure. Viora's tactical bracer pinged, her eyes narrowing. Failure or not, something's active in the veil. Our probes detected energy spikes matching the star heart's signature. And those obsidian ships, they're converging on Klyros. Zara smoothed her diplomatic robes, her voice steady but urgent. The Alliance is mobilizing, but the Outer Rim colonies are hesitating. They're scared. Rumors of the rift are spreading. We need to show them we can face this, or they'll fracture. Gale's scowl deepened. Fear's a lousy motivator. Action wins trust. We hit the crucible, secure the star heart's secret, and shut the rift before it swallows us all. His gaze settled on Jace. You ready, boy? Jace snorted, slipping, the pendants beneath his shirt. Ready as I'll ever be to dive into another cosmic death trap. But if this goes south, I'm blaming you for dragging me to Tarsinia in the first place. Vex, hovering nearby with a freshly polished blade, chirped, Master, your saga grows ever more epic. Shall I prepare your combat suit for the Crucible's trials, or perhaps a commemorative hollow of your impending glory? Prepare to stay out of trouble. Jace shot back, though a grin tugged at his lips. He caught Silvera's eye, her quiet strength anchoring him. The pendants hadn't stopped humming since the threshold, and every so often, a flicker of a vision, a churning vortex, a shadow moving through stars, flashed through his mind. He shook it off, focusing on Silvera's warmth beside him. Whatever came next, they'd face it together, but the question gnawed at him. What was the rift hiding? Jace stood with his family, the pendant's glow a constant reminder of the stakes. Guess we back into the fire, he said, his voice steady despite the weight of what lay ahead. Let's make sure it's worth it. The nebula thorn slipped through the Klyros Veil's nebula, its stealth system straining against the chaotic energy storms that twisted light and gravity. Jace stood on the bridge, his new combat suit, Elena's latest masterpiece, hugging his frame like a second skin, its circuits amplifying his already inhuman reflexes. Silvara and her sisters, each in their own specialized gear, coordinated with the crew, while Kale barked orders to the escort frigates. Vex, now sporting a sleek new chassis, hummed with excitement, its blades glinting under the bridge's lights. The planetoid loomed ahead, its surface a labyrinth of glowing fissures that pulsed in sync with the pendants. Sensors picked up faint signatures, obsidian ships patrolling the perimeter, their movements precise, predatory. They know we're coming, Viora said, her bracer projecting their positions. We'll need to punch through. Punch through. Then what? Jace asked, the pendants burning against his chest. This crucible doesn't sound like it hands out prizes for showing up. Elena's data slate flickered with new readings. The fissures are conduits, energy channels linked to the star heart. If we follow them, they'll lead to the core. But the crucible's defenses, they're alive. Not machines, not organic, but something in between. Sounds like my kind of party, Jace quipped, though his grip tightened on the controls. He glanced at Silvara, her crystal staff ready, her eyes fierce with determination. You sure you're up for this? She smiled, an echo of their childhood. I didn't chase you across the galaxy to back out now. The thorn descended, weaving through the obsidian ship's barrage. Kyle's frigates engaged, drawing fire, while Jace piloted the stealth vessel into a fissure, its walls pulsing with liquid light. The pendants guided them, their glyphs projecting a path through the maze. The air grew heavy, the ship's hull groaning under unseen pressure. Vex's sensors whirred. Master, environmental anomalies detected, temporal fluctuations, gravitational spikes. This place disapproves of our presence. No kidding, Jace muttered, banking hard to avoid a surge of energy that lashed out like a whip. They landed in a cavern, vast enough to dwarf a city, its ceiling a swirling vortex of starlight and shadow. At its center stood a structure, a spire of black crystal, its surface alive with runes that mirrored the pendants, the Starheart's core pulsing with a rhythm that shook the ground. But between them and the spire stood the Crucible's guardians, entities of shifting light and void, their forms coalescing into warriors, beasts, then dissolving into mist. Their voices spoke as one, a chorus that clawed at the mind. The Starheart is not yours. Turn back or become its fuel. Jace stepped forward, the pendants blazing. I'm getting real tired of cosmic gatekeepers. You want the Starheart? Come take it. The Guardians surged, their attacks bending reality, blades that cut through time, claws that phased through armor. Jace moved like a phantom, his suit and 50-degree training making him untouchable, the pendants sharpening his instincts. Silvara fought at his side, her staff weaving patterns that disrupted the Guardians' forms. Elena's drones swarmed, analyzing weaknesses, while Viora's commands kept their formation tight. Zara's empathic pulses softened the Guardians' aggression, buying precious seconds. Kyle, wielding a plasma cannon with surgical precision, roared over the chaos. Push to the spire! The Starheart's the key! They fought their way forward, the Guardians relentless, their numbers endless. The pendants burned hotter, their light merging with the spire's runes. Jace reached the structure, slamming the pendants against its surface. The cavern erupted in light, the Starheart's core unveiling itself, a sphere of pure energy, its surface a tapestry of creation and destruction. Visions flooded Jace's mind, the Rift's birth, a war that shattered galaxies, the Starheart. As both weapon and shield, the Guardians were its keepers, bound to test any who sought its power. You cannot wield it, they hissed, their forms stabilizing, echoes of the civilization that birthed the Rift. You will break, as we did. Jace's hand hovered over the Starheart, the pendants pulsing in sync. Maybe, but I've got something you didn't. He glanced at Silvara, her sisters, Kyle, the family that held him together. A reason to keep going, he touched. The Starheart and the world dissolved. He stood in a void, alone, the pendants floating before him. A presence, vast, ancient, spoke, its voice a storm. The Starheart is choice. Seal the rift and bind the universe to order. Free it and risk chaos to remake what was lost. Choose, bearer. Jace's mind reeled. Seal the rift, save everything, but lock the universe in a cage of fate, or unleash the Starheart, give the shattered and countless others a chance at redemption. But risk annihilation? He saw his children's faces, Silvara's smile, Kyle's stubborn pride. He saw his parents, their sacrifice on Vorin Secundus, their belief in him. Silvara's voice cut through the void, faint but clear. Whatever you choose, we're with you. He reached for the Starheart, the pendants flaring, their light a bridge between order and chaos. The cavern snapped back, the Guardians frozen, the spire trembling. The Starheart pulsed, its power surging through Jace, the pendants anchoring him. He didn't seal it, didn't free it. He held it. A balance, a defiance of the binary choice. The Guardians screamed, their forms dissolving into light, not destroyed but released, their essence merging with the Starheart. The cavern stabilized, but the rift's energy spiked again. A new wave rippling through the nebula. Elena's slate blared warnings. The Starheart's awake, but it's not done. Something's answering it. Beyond the veil. Kyle hauled Jace to his feet. You bought us time, boy, but the rift's not finished with you. Jace clutched the pendants, their glow steady now, but their map shifting, pointing to a new system, deeper in the unknown. Silvara took his hand, her sisters closing ranks. We'll find it, she said, together. The thorn lifted off, the Alliance fleets rallying behind. Jace looked at his family, the Starheart's weight a promise and a threat. Round 3, he muttered, a smile breaking through. Let's make it a good one. The stars burned brighter, the rifts heart-pulsed, and the crest's journey stretched into the void, a story still unfolding. And there you have it. The crest's power unleashed Jace and Silvara, standing defiant against the Starveil Rift's cosmic threat. But what's next for our heroes? Will the Crucible's secrets save the universe or doom it? The stars are calling, and you won't want to miss what lies beyond. Craving more epic sci-fi adventures? Check out another thrilling story packed with interstellar battles and ancient mysteries. Click the video on your screen now and keep exploring the galaxy.